Aboard the Imperial Dreadnought Unyielding Honor, silence reigned where chaos should have bloomed. No one spoke as the stars twisted unnaturally outside the command viewport. The ship's tactical hologram, a constantly updated projection of nearby space, now displayed a disturbing anomaly. An entire fleet had just materialized in the neutral zone. No warning. No slipstream trails. No gravitational echoes. Just appeared. Lord Admiral Ziratek Valthuan leaned forward in his throne-like command seat. His violet eyes narrowed. Identification. His voice was sharp, clipped. "Unknown, my lord," stammered Sari, a young Imperial sensor officer with quivering frills. "The fleet doesn't match any known profiles in our archives." "But their formation," she hesitated. "It's textbook, human." Murmurs rippled through the bridge. A few officers exchanged looks. Wary, uncertain. "Impossible," Ziratek said. "Humanity hasn't fielded a fleet in over a century. Their last colony fleet was dismantled at Duran's Maw. Their worlds are fractured, leaderless." "Yet there they are," murmured Captain Kalrax beside him, pointing to the hollow display. "Formed in a crescent blade pattern. 50 capital-class ships. No visible markings, no ID beacons, and every one of them blacker than deep space." The fleet didn't just arrive. It coalesced. They had dropped from some unknown fold in subspace, perfectly silent. No gravitational signature until arrival. No tachyon residue. They had bypassed the Empire's entire border defense net, something previously thought unachievable, even theoretical. "They're broadcasting," Sari whispered. The holoscreen flickered. A human appeared. Female, armored in sleek black with a crimson stripe down her right pauldron. Her hair was cropped short, eyes steel gray, mouth calm but firm. "This is Commander Ilara Miles of the Terran Vanguard Fleet," she said. "We are within engagement range. Your movement beyond this point will be considered hostile. Recommend immediate de-escalation. No threats. No bluster. Just calm certainty." The screen blinked off before a reply could be formed. Ziratek stood slowly. "Contact High Command. Dispatch reconnaissance. Prepare strike contingents Alpha through Gamma." Captain Kalrax stepped forward. "With respect, Lord Admiral, we don't know what we're dealing with. Their entrance defied every sensor we have." "That is the threat," Ziratek snapped. "We must remind these ghosts why the Empire endured while they rotted in silence." But in truth, Ziratek felt something he hadn't in centuries. An itch beneath his skin, a dread he couldn't articulate. Across the void, aboard the command vessel Vanguard Spear, Ilara Miles watched the Imperial Dreadnought with clinical calm. "Reaction time?" she asked. 18 seconds from contact to first-order dispatch," replied her AI tactical adjunct, Callan. "Slower than expected. Suggests disbelief." "Expected. The Empire hasn't fought a war of consequence in 200 years. Their pride's their weakest system." She turned to the wide tactical panel at the center of the bridge, where hollow renders of the Imperial fleet shimmered like specters. "What's their initial deployment?" "Recon and interception squadrons forming in the rear. No aggressive posture yet." Ilara nodded. "They're testing us." Callan pulsed. "They will find the test fatal." Behind her, officers manned their stations in silence. Most of them augmented, some wholly synthetic. There was no shouting. No second-guessing. Human fleet doctrine had changed. Decentralized AI-assisted command systems allowed the entire fleet to act in fluid synchronization, adapting in real time. "Prepare ghost protocols," she ordered. At once, the Vanguard Spear began to flicker on scanners, its hull phasing across thousands of localized subspace frequencies, breaking its own signature into fragments. The rest of the fleet followed suit, a tactic designed to make lock-on targeting nearly impossible. "They're afraid," Callan said. "They should be." Back aboard Unyielding Honor, Ziratek watched in horror as the enemy signatures began to disappear from their scanners. "Where did they go?" he hissed. "They're still there, my lord," said Sari, her claws twitching. "But we can't get a fix. They're using something we've never seen. They're ghosts." Captain Kalrax's voice was low. "They're showing us exactly what they want us to see. And no more." Ziratek's claws gripped the railing. Then we rip the veil away. He pointed. Fire a probe array. No warheads. Just light. See what they do. Moments later, a cascade of sensor drones surged forward, accelerating toward the Terran fleet. As soon as they crossed the midpoint, 500,000 kilometers from the Vanguard's line, they vanished. Just blinked out. No explosion. No data. Nothing. Kalrax whispered, they didn't just destroy the drones, they unmade them. Ilara exhaled as the last Imperial probe winked out. Callan intoned, Nanite Veil active. Probe dismantling successful. They won't understand what happened. Good. Let them guess. Ilara stepped toward the forward viewport, arms behind her back. They'll think we came here for war, she said. But this isn't conquest. This is proof. To them, Callan asked. Proof of what? She watched the Imperial Armada churn nervously, like an animal unsure whether to run or pounce. Proof, Ilara said quietly, that humanity never stopped evolving. And we're done asking permission. High above the battlefield, in a listening station orbiting the twin moons of Ixal 9, a young data analyst tapped frantically at his console. He was non-military, one of the Empire's outsourced information workers. The transmission feeds from Unyielding Honor had begun to stutter, then fragment. Error codes he'd never seen danced across the screen. The Dreadnought signal suddenly dropped to 60% strength. Then the Terran signal came through, uninterrupted, unencrypted. Ilara's face filled the room. This is not a declaration of war, she said, but it is the end of your monopoly on fear. He stared, slack-jawed, as her voice echoed through the quiet station. And across the galaxy, that message spread like a spark in dry grass. The black hull of the Vanguard spear shimmered faintly in the dark, as if the stars themselves bent away from it. Commander Ilara Miles stood motionless in the observation ring, watching the remnants of the Empire's probe cloud vanish one by one. The silence was deceptive. Her mind was already parsing 100 possibilities. Behind her, the air hummed as her second-in-command approached. 30 drones neutralized, said Lieutenant Reyes. 0 trace signatures. Empire's blind now. Ilara didn't turn. They expected prey, she murmured. Now they're trying to decide if we're something worse. Something they can't categorize, Reyes replied. That makes us dangerous. No. That makes us interesting. She finally turned. Tell Callan to initiate threat mapping. I want to see how deep the Empire's fear goes. Hours earlier, a memory pulsed in her mind, burned into her nerves like old trauma. She was younger then. Earth was still rebuilding, still split between warring governments and corporate dynasties. She'd volunteered for the Vanguard Initiative when no one else wanted to leave the solar cradle. Not for hope, not for glory, just escape. The Terran Vanguard was a ghost project then, run from hidden orbital docks above Titan. No one believed humanity could return to the galactic stage. Not after what the Empire did to Mars. Not after the silence. But Earth adapted. The Vanguard didn't rebuild using old naval doctrine. It didn't replicate the Empire's massed armada style. Instead, it turned inward, leaning on AI collaboration, neural co-command, predictive combat matrices. They didn't build ships. They built predators. Silent, fast, lethal, and, most importantly, invisible until too late. They trained with simulations of alien war doctrines, studied past defeats, innovated beyond what the Empire considered combat. And they made her their tip of the spear. Back in the present, Callan's voice echoed through the bridge. Imperial sub-squadrons moving into flanking position. Interceptors deploying. Velocity suggests a test engagement. Ilara frowned. How many? 2 detachments. 17 vessels. Minimal shielding. Standard escorts. They're watching our response. They want to provoke. Reyes folded his arms. Or bait us into revealing more tech than they can afford to see. Either way, Ilara said, we respond. She turned toward the central table where the fleet holographic display showed every unit's position. Her fingers danced across the interface. Deploy Phantom Wing, she ordered. Strict silence. Pattern 362. Aboard the Empire's flanking cruiser Dusk of Fire, Commander Thalan clicked his mandibles nervously. "Why aren't they reacting?" he hissed to his tactical officer. "Unknown. We're within scan range. No targeting systems locking on. They're not doing anything. Then we push forward. If they're bluffing, we'll expose it." He gave the order. 16 seconds later, the dusk of fire disappeared from existence. No explosion. No flare. One moment, it was there. The next, it simply wasn't. The second cruiser began evasive maneuvers but caught the edge of an unseen force. Its hull twisted mid-warp, ripping itself apart. Panic ignited. The remaining ships scrambled, comms bursting with overlapping commands. Nothing helped. One by one, the entire subsquadron was erased. Not destroyed. Deleted. On board the Vanguard Spear, the aftermath was displayed in chilling clarity. 17 vessels neutralized, Callan reported. Loss ratio 0. They never even fired. Reyes let out a low whistle. "That's going to make them paranoid." "They already are," Ilara replied. "But now they're scared and blind." She studied the tactical map. "Did they transmit anything before contact was lost?" Callan's projection pulsed. Only one signal made it out. Fragmented sensor data. No visuals. No comms. Good. Confusion is our shield. Reyes leaned in. "They'll retaliate. Hard. Even if they don't understand what hit them." "Let them," Ilara said calmly. "We're not here to win a war. We're here to redefine it." Hours later, in the Empire's Central Naval Command on Argatha Prime, Lord Admiral Ziratek reviewed the after-action data in silence. Around him, a dozen sub-admirals whispered, argued, and speculated. None dared speak to him directly. The display was clear. 17 ships, gone. Sensor logs were corrupted. Communications blacked out. Survivors? 0. He tapped the display. "This is surgical." Admiral Creel, his oldest advisor, stepped forward cautiously. "It defies known doctrines. We suspect some form of AI-guided hunter drones." Ziratek grunted. "No traces. No radiation. No signals. If these are drones, they are beyond anything we've seen." "Perhaps the humans found help." The words hung in the air, treasonous in some ears. Ziratek's eyes narrowed. "The humans are the help. We just didn't realize what they became." Back on the Spear, Ilara sat alone in the dim command chamber. The room pulsed faint blue, syncing with her neural link. It wasn't a chair she sat in, it was a control node. Her thoughts were the ship's own. "Status?" she asked, sub-vocalizing through the link. "Fleet integrity at 100%, Callan answered. "Enemy morale is plummeting. Communications between their sectors are increasingly erratic." "Good. Next phase. Prepped. Deep ghost pings already active in 3 border systems. False signals mimicking Vanguard profiles. They'll believe we're everywhere." Reyes entered, holding a small object, a memory drive. "Courier drone just returned," he said. "From the Andari cluster." Ilara took the drive, plugged it into the armrest slot. Footage flickered across the viewport. Alien planets. Empire settlements. Fires. Uprisings. Civilians with crude weapons, burning banners of the Emperor. "They're moving," she said quietly. "Faster than we expected. They saw our message." Ilara stared at the flames on screen. "Then we need to give them something to believe in." She stood. "Prep the long-range emitter. I want our next message ready within the hour." Reyes hesitated. "What do we say?" She didn't pause. "We say, the Empire bled us. They forgot us. But we survived. And now, we choose how this ends." The Vanguard Spear drifted in calculated silence, a shadow among stars. Commander Ilara Miles stood inside the data chamber, surrounded by translucent tactical projections. Thin veins of red pulsed through the ghost field schematics, a sign the enemy was adapting. Not enough to threaten her fleet, but enough to change the game. "Empires upgraded their sensor arrays," Callan reported. "Localized pulse sweeps across the forward sector. Primitive, but persistent. They're hunting blind, Ilara said. Blind prey are the most dangerous. Lieutenant Reyes leaned against the console. They're also desperate. That makes them stupid. Not always, Ilara replied. Sometimes desperation sharpens the knife. She didn't say it, but something felt off. The rhythm of the enemy was wrong. Reactive, yes, but too scattered. There were too many signals out of place. Too many errors she didn't trust. Run internal diagnostics, she said. Silent mode. Deep sweep integrity scan. Callan paused. That will disable our forward ghost veil for 12 seconds. Do it. 12 seconds later, Callan's voice returned. Quieter. Colder. Anomaly detected. Data siphon embedded in FleetNet Relay 7. Unauthorized outgoing signal piggybacked on routine power cycling. Originating from within. Reyes straightened. A leak. No, Ilara said. A knife. She brought up the internal security feed. Compartment A-17. Maintenance crew quarters. Empty. Lights dimmed. Thermal signature. One body, seated, unmoving. Ilara, Reyes said cautiously. You don't think? I do. She moved quickly, motioning Reyes to follow. The Spear's corridors were clean, industrial, deliberately unwelcoming. Vanguard doctrine didn't believe in comfort, only clarity. Every step echoed purpose. When they reached A-17, the door slid open without resistance. Inside sat Specialist Rian Makov, hands resting on his knees, eyes closed. A small data shard blinked blue on the table. You knew we'd find it, Ilara said flatly. I hoped, Makov replied. He didn't move. Wasn't personal. It never is, she answered. Reyes stepped forward. What did you give them? Fleet formation schematics. Primary command relay paths. Nothing operational. He opened his eyes. But enough to make you hesitate. Ilara didn't look away. Why? Makov shrugged. Because Earth's already lost. We just don't know it yet. Reyes scoffed. So you serve the Empire now? Makov's laugh was hollow. No one serves the Empire. You survive it. Or you vanish. Ilara drew her sidearm and fired. One silent, clean pulse. Makov fell backward, the blinking shard sparking out beside him. Burn the drive, she said. Scrub everything. Then lock this section down. Reyes hesitated. You want a burial code? She turned. No. He made his choice. The airlock will do. Back on the bridge, Callan had already started rerouting all signal pathways. The security breach had been contained, but the damage wasn't just technical. It was psychological. Trust was harder to repair than circuits. Broadcast trails confirm Makov's data hit an Empire node station, Callan said. They'll respond soon. Ilara paced slowly. They'll think they have insight. That makes them vulnerable. Reyes entered behind her. What now? They'll throw everything at us. Exactly what we want. She tapped a command onto the holo panel. Initiate misdirection cascade. I want them chasing ghosts. Deploying decoy signals now, Callan replied. 3 sectors targeted. Fleet dispersal patterns randomized. They'll believe we've split. And when they do, she said, we'll strike where they feel safest. Meanwhile, at the Empire Sector Command outpost on Athakar 4, Admiral Vorth watched the data stream with a rising smirk. His analysts had confirmed it. Intercepted formation paths, command hierarchies, unit identifiers. Finally, something real. Deploy Task Force Ember, he ordered. Coordinates uploaded. Full burn. No warning shots. But sir, one of his aides objected. They're fractured, Vorth said. This is the moment we break them. The aide hesitated. Understood. As the fleet launched, no one questioned why the data had appeared so perfectly timed. Or why the transmission's encryption looked too Terran. 17 hours later, nothing remained of Task Force Ember. Not debris. Not black boxes. Nothing. Only an empty signal buoy, floating in silence. Its only message, You were warned. On the Vanguard Spear, Ilara watched the buoy's transmission playback. They sent a full battle group, Reyes said. Gone in under 3 minutes. Ilara's expression didn't change. They assumed the data was a gift. Never asked why it was so easy. Callan chimed in. Interceptions from secondary sectors show internal panic. Civilian communications restricted. Military traffic surged. Empire is rattling itself. Good, Ilara said. Rattled is vulnerable. She tapped another command. Next message. A moment later, her face was once again broadcast to the Empire's border systems. This was avoidable, she said. You chose force. We responded in kind. There will be no warning next time. She paused. But there's still time to choose differently. Then the feed ended. Back on Argatha Prime, Lord Admiral Ziratek was silent as the message played for the 3rd time. He'd studied Ilara's face, her words, her tone. She wasn't bluffing. But she also wasn't looking for annihilation. He turned to his communications officer. Has she asked for negotiation? No formal request. Only this. Ziratek leaned back in his chair. She wants us to ask. He stared at the blackened map where once proud fleets had hovered. Now, all that remained were gaps, voids where ships vanished. He clenched his hands. Very well. Let's talk. The sky above Argatha Prime bled gold and crimson, as artificial suns traced their arcs through the high atmosphere. From the spire of the Imperial Citadel, Lord Admiral Ziratek stood alone, watching the planetary shield ripple faintly under solar tension. The Empire's heart, once thought impenetrable, now felt vulnerable. Too exposed, too fragile. A shadow stepped beside him. She's agreed, said Minister Trenthvar, the Emperor's envoy. The human commander will come. Ziratek didn't look at him. Alone. She insists on minimal escort. Just 2 security officers, unarmed. But she wants the meeting on our soil. She wants the Emperor to see her face. Trenth nodded. Ziratek's jaw tightened. Fine. Let her come. Let her feel the weight of what she's challenging. Ilara descended from the dropship in silence. Her uniform was unadorned. Matte black. No rank, no insignia. She wore no weapon. Beside her, Lieutenant Reyes and a silent synth guard flanked her like shadows, their expressions unreadable. A contingent of Imperial honor guards stood waiting, armor polished to ceremonial gleam, their blades more for tradition than defense. Trenthvar stepped forward. Commander Miles, you honor us. Ilara's tone was flat. Let's not pretend this is courtesy. You asked for a meeting. I agreed. We're here to speak, not dance. The envoy gave a tight smile. This way, then. She was led through the inner halls of the Citadel, past ancient murals glorifying the Empire's conquest, depictions of alien subjugation, victories long fossilized into legend. She said nothing, but she studied them, catalogued every faded line. Finally, they reached the throne chamber. The Emperor did not rise. He was old. Older than anyone had expected. Wrapped in layers of gleaming bio-silk, he sat motionless, pale and mechanical. Augments ran the length of his arms and neck, breathing for him, blinking for him. His eyes were lenses, not flesh. Ilara bowed slightly. Not out of respect, just habit. Ziratek stood behind the throne, arms crossed, silent as granite. You are Ilara Miles, the Emperor rasped. I am, she replied. You lead the fleet that humiliated us. I lead a fleet that refused to be forgotten. The Emperor's mechanical voice buzzed softly. You come now to demand surrender? No, she said. I came to deliver a choice. He chuckled, the sound brittle. You bring ultimatums with no army behind you? Her gaze sharpened. You still don't understand. My fleet doesn't conquer. It doesn't occupy. It reveals. Every system we visit sees the truth of what the Empire has become. Hollow, slow, rotting. Careful, Ziratek growled. Ilara didn't flinch. I am being careful. I could have sent our message by dismantling this planet's defense grid from orbit. But I chose to speak instead. She stepped forward, eyes on the Emperor alone. The Empire has ruled through fear. That worked. Until now. But fear has a limit. And it ends the moment someone else shows up who isn't afraid. The Emperor's gaze shifted, slow and mechanical. You claim to offer peace. But your actions are war. Our presence is war only because you made it so. We answered probes with silence. You responded with fleets. We neutralized. We didn't annihilate. Yet you can, the Emperor said. Yes, Ilara answered. We can. And we will if pushed. In the corridor outside the chamber, Reyes leaned against the wall beside the synth guard. You believe she'll convince them? The synth's voice was low, calm. Convincing is not her purpose. She's here to seed. Seed what? Doubt. Inside, the Emperor's breathing was louder now, each mechanical breath rasping like rusted bellows. You want us to roll back centuries of order? For a new power that appears from nowhere? Ilara's tone remained calm. We don't want control. We want the truth to spread. Your empire isn't feared anymore. It's mocked. Systems are rising. Colonies that once bent the knee now hoist rebel flags. You're bleeding from within. Zyrtec took a sharp step forward. And you think you're the cause? No, Ilara said. We're just the signal that the collapse has already begun. The Emperor was silent. Then, what do you want, Commander Miles? She stepped closer, speaking clearly. Open your borders. End forced conscription. Dismantle planetary surveillance grids. Withdraw from neutral territories. Let systems choose their allegiance freely. We don't want your throne. We want the boot off their necks. And if we refuse? She smiled coldly. Then your people will take it from you anyway. We'll just make sure they know they're not alone. Later, as Ilara's ship lifted off from the Citadel's pad, the storm above Argathor began to gather, thick clouds laced with static curling over the horizon. In the observation bay, Zyrtec stood with Trenthvar. She believes she's changing history, Trent said. Zyrtec's voice was low. She already has. Then what do we do? Zyrtec stared into the darkening sky. We prepare for the second wave. This wasn't an attack. It was a diagnosis. That night, encrypted messages flared across a dozen sectors. From the mining colonies of Essentra to the flooded cities of Dravox 4, whispers turned into signals. Rebels arming, officers defecting, outposts choosing independence. The message Ilara carried had landed in more places than the Empire realized. A quiet rebellion had begun. Not of fire, not yet, but of belief. Ilara hadn't declared war. She had declared irrelevance. Back on the Vanguard spear, as it slipped into shadow space, Reyes approached her on the bridge. You think they'll give in? Ilara didn't answer at first. No, not yet. But they're scared. And that's the beginning. Of what? She looked out at the starlight tearing across the ship's hull. Of the end. The skies above Varelia Prime cracked open like glass. One moment, the planet's horizon shimmered with the quiet order of Empire, shield satellites aligned, orbital stations humming in lazy patrol. The next, those same stations flickered, blinked, and dropped off sensors. No explosions. No alarms. Just absence. In the governor's spire, alarms began screaming too late. They're here, someone whispered. But no one knew how. High above, in the pitch of low orbit, the Vanguard spear held position at the edge of visibility. Not cloaked, just never fully seen. Its hull seemed to slip sideways from sensor locks, refusing to exist in the same moment twice. Inside the command chamber, Ilara Miles studied the display. Around her, Terran ships moved in coordinated silence. No formation, no classic wedge. They were everywhere and nowhere. Empire defenses are in freefall, Callan said. Local fleet commander has yet to issue engagement orders. They're waiting for someone else to decide, Ilara said. But no one's left to lead them. Reyes stepped forward. Should we strike now? Clean sweep, orbital wipe, take the capital. No, she replied. Not yet. She tapped the panel. Initiate the broadcast. Let's see if they're still listening. Across Varelia Prime, screens glitched. Public terminals froze. Commercial holos blinked out mid-loop. A single image took their place. Ilara's face. She spoke without preamble. This is Commander Ilara Miles of the Terran Vanguard. No weapons have been fired. No cities bombed. But your fleet is gone. Your orbital shields are disabled. And no one came to stop us. She leaned forward slightly. You were told this would happen. You were told your empire couldn't protect you anymore. Now you see it for yourself. She paused. You have a choice. Continue defending a power that has already failed, or stand with the future. The feed ended. On the planet, chaos didn't erupt. It fractured. Half the Empire officers refused to fire. The other half waited for orders that never came. One by one, anti-air batteries shut down. Starport traffic controllers disabled landing locks. Civilians flooded the open channels. And in the center of it all, Governor Lyrics of Varelia stood alone in his command tower, watching it fall apart. He opened a private line. This is Lyrics. I am requesting terms. Ilara stood still for a long time after the message came in. Put him through, she said. The governor's face appeared, sweat on his brow, tension drawn tight behind his eyes. You've made your point, he said. Ilara gave him nothing. You've shut down my defenses. You could bombard the cities. I could, she agreed. Then why haven't you? Because we're not here to destroy your world. Just your certainty. He swallowed. You want surrender? I want your people to choose freely. Stand down. Withdraw from Empire mandates. Announce Varelia as autonomous. No chains. No allegiance, unless it's by your own will. You think we'll just accept chaos? No, she said. I think you've already been living in it. The line went dead. 2 minutes later, every Empire banner in Varelia's capital was lowered. Far away, on Argatha Prime, Ziratek watched the footage in silence. Ilara hadn't fired a single shot, and still, the Empire had lost control of a core world. Minister Trenth Var entered behind him. It's spreading. 4 more colonies declared independence. 8 refused to send tithe ships. There's unrest on the outer ring. Mutiny, Ziratek corrected. Yes. And what should we call this? Trenth gestured to the screen. Ziratek didn't answer. He turned off the holos. Back aboard the Spear, Ilara returned to the bridge. Reyes handed her a report. Half the Empire fleet had pulled back from the border. A dozen captains refused to engage the Vanguard. Internal transmissions leaked, officers questioning their orders, ships defecting, some even requesting dialogue. We don't need a war, Reyes said quietly. It's falling apart on its own. Then we keep pressure steady. Let it crumble under its own weight. Callan spoke up. An encrypted transmission just came in. Origin. Empire. Signed by Admiral Ziratek. Reyes stiffened. A message. No, Callan said. A recording. Play it, Ilara ordered. Ziratek appeared on the holoscreen, expression as unreadable as always. You've made your move, Commander. You've exposed what we tried to bury. The weakness. The cracks. You didn't break the Empire. You reminded it how fragile it already was. He exhaled. I don't expect we'll speak again. But you should know, the old world won't come back. And the new one you build? It won't love you for it. Then, static. Ilara stared at the blank screen for a moment. He understands, she said. Too late, Reyes added. Always is. The next day, the Vanguard Spear transmitted one last message. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't an offer. It was a declaration. Asterisk, we are not conquerors. We are not saviors. We are the consequence you forgot was coming. We have no throne to take, no empire to build. We only came to make sure everyone remembers what it means to choose. This is the end of your silence. And the beginning of our voice. Asterisk. Somewhere on Earth, a child sat on a rooftop under the stars. The signal reached even that far. Her parents hadn't told her much, only that the sky used to belong to others. Now it looked different. She watched the feed in awe as the black Terran ships hovered like gods above a distant world. She turned to her brother. Is that us? He nodded. Then we're not small anymore.